Hi, folks. You know, a lot of people who are supposed freedom fighters, right, and fighting for the cause of liberty, they want the way of life in this country to change, as long as they don't have to change their way of life in the process, right? Which, of course, is ridiculous, because the whole is nothing but the sum of the individuals, right? They want to go out and they want to have their freedom festivals, you know, and they want to sing and dance and barbecue and play games with the kids and listen to music and drink and bitch and moan and complain about that mean old state that won't let them be free and do whatever they want. But, of course, they always make sure they get all the proper permits to hold their festivals, right? So they're going to get the state's permission to go out there and bitch and complain about always having to get the state's permission to do something. Right? It's complete bullshit. The Adam Kokesh guy, he's one of my favorite ones, man. He's the guy that wears the Grizzly Adams beard and makes the videos wearing his wife-beater tank tops, you know? This guy was dancing at the Jefferson Memorial. It wasn't even dancing. It was some sort of bodily vibrations or spastic attack or something. And the cop comes over, because there's no dancing at the Jefferson Memorial in D.C., and the cop comes over and body slams this guy to the ground. He just lets him. They handcuff him, and they herd him over with the other sheeple. What did that prove? It proved absolutely nothing except to heighten his own celebrity. Right? You need to be the change that you want. It's just that simple. Nothing is going to change until we, the people, change it. That's why since I got back into the country in 2006, I lived abroad for 10 years. I have not paid a single frivolous traffic citation. Why would I? I earned that money. I have no debt to society because this state or this district or that district passes some abusive law so they can line their coffers and build brand new $2 million police stations. Right? Why would I pay those things? And of course they were all for stupid, just frivolous laws that somebody wrote up to make money. That's it. I can't even imagine the kind of person that would just go, oh, yeah, here's $150, you know, for nothing. All the way from New York State to Seattle to Virginia to Detroit. Right? And of course, as I travel around the country for work, obviously I don't know all the different laws of all the different states. And their excuse is always, ignorance is no excuse. Yes, it is. I don't live here. I've been in this state for a week. And I was in New York State for a week. And I got pulled over for talking on my cell phone because you can't drive and talk on your cell phone in New York State. The guy looked at my license, saw it was not a New York State license, wrote me the ticket anyway. I go to the judge. I tell the judge, I'm not here. How would you expect me to do the impossible and know that you can't talk on your cell phone while driving in New York State when I'm not from here? I don't live here. It's absurd to think that you should know all the laws in all the states in the entire fucking country. Only an idiot would subscribe to some sort of philosophy like that. But it doesn't matter, because it has nothing to do with anything except them engaging in their legalized highway robbery. That's all it is, and you know it, and I know it. Right? And any other excuse is just bullshit, and you know it. Right? So I haven't paid. In Virginia, they cited me for statutory reckless driving. They have a definition of what reckless driving is in Virginia. Right? And statutory reckless driving means that you weren't really driving recklessly. Because if you had been, they would have cited you for reckless driving. But since you wouldn't cooperate and actually commit the crime, they're just going to say you were doing it anyway. Right? So I humored these guys, and I went to the first round of court, you know, and of course it was a complete railroading job. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're from out of state, right? In fact, I'm just passing through Virginia and got pulled over, of course, at a speed trap, right? Because that's where they all are. Because it's predatory behavior on the part of the state, right? These guys, they sit behind the trees, literally in the grass, in the middle of the road at night with their lights off. It's predatory behavior, right? And so I get pulled over, and I go to the first round of court, and they say guilty, okay? I appeal it. They say guilty again. Nothing matters. No evidence, no fact, no logic, no reason. Nothing matters because it's only legalized highway robbery, okay? So the latest one here, I don't know what happened in Virginia. I told them to piss off. They were never going to see a penny from me. I wrote them a letter saying as much. I haven't heard back from them. They said, and of course more lies, they said that my license would be suspended even though it was not from Virginia, and it wasn't, right? Because the government always lies. They're going to tell you whatever they want, whatever they can, to try to scare you into giving them your money, of course. But the latest one was from Ferndale, Michigan, a northern, poor, podunk suburb of Detroit. Again, I do contract work. I travel all over the country. I could be somewhere for anywhere from a week to 6 months. And I was up in the Detroit area doing some work, driving down a road for the first time in my life. Never been on it before in my life. And the cop pulled me over and cited me for doing 45 in a 40. That alone is abusive enough. And of course, it was a speed trap. I found out later, they have websites that list all the speed traps in the different towns. And it's a known speed trap. But 45 and a 40. Really? But that's not the kicker. The kicker is that on that particular stretch of road, from where I entered and he pulled me over, there are no speed limit signs. So somebody who'd never been on that road before, whether they're from Detroit or not, obviously there are people who live in that area who haven't traveled every single road in the town, would not know what the speed was on that stretch of road. So he cited me the ticket, and since I'm from out of state, he confiscated my driver's license. That's a euphemism. What he really did was he stole it, because he took it without my permission, and it belongs to me. You know how I know it belongs to me? Because my picture, my name, and all my personal information and signatures on it, and I paid for it. I got the receipt, right? So I went to court, again, nobody can say I haven't tried to use the corrupt, broken system, right, to find some justice. So I go to court, and I tell the magistrate, I say there's, obviously, I'm not from here, and there's no speed limit signs on that stretch of road. And so I told him that I executed the basic speed law, which we learned in driver's ed, that says, in the absence of speed limit signs, you drive at what you consider to be a safe and prudent speed given the conditions. And that's exactly what I did. And I was doing 45 and a 40. Not bad, actually. Right? The judge said it didn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And he went into some incoherent narrative about how that particular road was the blueprint for other roads to be built throughout the state of Michigan, and nonsense, complete nonsense, and he goes guilty. So just for shits and grins, of course, I had no intent of paying this ever anyway. I said I'd like to appeal. Well, in order to appeal in Detroit, you have to actually pay a bond, which of course is the price of the ticket. And even if you win the appeal, you still have to pay the court costs, which is equal to the price of the ticket. So you have no right to appeal in Detroit, right? Either way, they're going to get their money, unless you just skip town, which I did. So I skipped town, and this particular district in Detroit sends me a motion of affidavit, looks very official and legitimate, doesn't it? Saying that they were going to hold me in contempt of court for not paying the fine, for leaving without paying the fine, leaving the courthouse that night without paying the fine. I thought that was kind of funny because to charge me with contempt of court would imply that I give a shit about the court in the first place, which I don't, so I can't disrespect it. It means nothing to me. So of course I ignored that. Great. So then they send me another notice that says that a bench warrant for my arrest has been issued. They want to take an honest, extremely educated, with highly marketable job skills, productive, member of society, single income provider of a family of 4, and put me in a cage. And why? Because I refuse to give in to their extortion tactics from their speed trap engaging in their legalized highway robbery. That seems like the right thing to do. How could I be put in a cage for that? How do you put somebody who is principled enough, who has the character and the integrity not to give in to this, not to just buy his way out of their mob tactics, in jail? Isn't that the kind of person we want in a civilized society? Isn't that the kind of person we want in a just society? You don't imprison those people. You reward them. You engage them. You talk to them and you learn from them. But of course, in this wonderful place of God bless America, all your problems can go away with the government if you pay. And they give you some nice little payment options down here. You can even go into debt if you have to, or if you want to, in order to pay off the mob for their protection money. And they make it really simple here. You will not have to appear in court if the total amount due is paid in full before your court appearance. A personal check will not be accepted. Everything's better with money in America, right? Well, I refuse. You know, I've been abused by the cops my entire life. I've even gotten tickets on my bicycle. Once in Tallahassee, Florida, and once in Princeton, New Jersey. And they will never, ever see another penny out of me. And I see here, so they issued a warrant for my arrest, and it only cost $300 to not have to go to jail. What I've done is I've actually written my own warrant for the arrest of the Honorable Joseph Longo, District Court Judge. Why not? My illegitimate authority is just as illegitimate as their illegitimate authority. So he writes a writ of arrest for me. I wrote out a writ of arrest for him. You get that? And who does it matter? What's the deciding factor as to whose arrest warrant gets executed or not? Who's got the most guns? That's all it is. If their authority was legitimate, they wouldn't need any guns, right? But they do. And they're going to try to use their guns and their force and their numbers to force their illegitimate authority on myself and others. I wonder, I really do wonder how many honest, hardworking people, productive members of our society, are in jail right now for things such as this. They say if I ever come back to the state of Detroit and I get pulled over, I'll be arrested. Well, Joey, there's a writ of arrest out for you, buddy. If I ever see you, I'm going to arrest you. You see how that works? We can do it too. Anybody can do it. Our authority is just as illegitimate as theirs. So why do we put up with it? Because you're scared. Everybody is scared. They're afraid. The government uses fear to control people. And simple, stupid little things like this, people will wet their panties and pony up the dough. Shame on you. You want change, then you got to be the change. You want the way of life in this country to change, your way of life has to change. Nobody's willing to take that last final step. Everybody wants to hide behind their computers and bitch and moan and complain about, it's not fair. You've got to take that final step. And I'm not talking about aggressing, I'm talking about defending. When a cop pulls you over and he's trying to write you a ticket, fine, let him write the ticket, don't answer any of his questions, and then go on and toss the ticket in the can. The next time he pulls you over, if he says there's a warrant out for your arrest and he tries to kidnap you and put you in a cage, you defend yourself. The same as you would defend yourself against any other criminal. What difference does it matter if he's wearing a costume and a shiny little badge? He has no legitimate authority to abduct you. None. Zero. When you've done nothing wrong. You have violated no one's rights. You haven't threatened to violate anybody's rights. This writ of arrest for me is what's called a credible threat on my well-being. This is a credible threat. This is defensible. This is self-defense to defend yourself against somebody who has said in no uncertain terms, if we see you, we're abducting you and putting you in a cage. Doesn't get any more credible than that. And I will defend myself. I would rather defend myself against this and know that I did the right thing, even though the government said it was wrong, than live on my fucking knees giving my $300. That's a month's worth of groceries for my family. That's, I don't know how much gas. That's dental work that needs to be done. I'll be goddamned if they're going to see a penny of that. They might get it eventually, but they're going to have to take it. I'm not going to be giving it to them.